most welcome to another exciting review of how to finish your stats. And in today's review, we're going to be looking at what you can do when you're struggling to finish what you started. Okay. And I'm excited to tell you that this is actually the final chapter of this book. We've been reviewing it for some days now, and this is chapter 13 that offers concluding thoughts on everything that we've been reading. So, to start with, you really need to get a grip on whatever you're doing, get a grip of it by finishing it. If you know that you should be finishing it, although yesterday or the previous review, we looked at when not finishing is a good thing. But if you still believe that it is a good thing for you to finish, then you should look at ways to finish it, because by failing to finish, then you're in a state of limbo, which in most cases is far worse than the nostalgic feeling that finishing usually brings with it. So please sit back, relax as we continue with this review. I greet you all. All right, what is the cure for that nostalgic feeling or ambivalent feeling? Because sometimes when you've been working on the project for a while and you've really been enjoying it, this fear may immediately come upon you or suddenly come upon you. Like, when I finish this project, what am I going to do next? You fear boredom, you fear that you're going to be idle, you fear that, the momentum and everything that you have will suddenly go away and you don't know what to do next. But the good news is that when you finish it, there are so many other better feelings that you're going to have. Yes, and one of them is a feeling of fulfillment, a feeling of excitement. You're going to be so proud of yourself and so much more. Right. So before we turn to know how, or to examine how your life might look like if you get more finished or out of the door, that particular project that you've been working on, the author thinks that sometimes when you are struggling to finish something, it is good to share your unfinished project with somebody trustworthy who can nudge you on, who can encourage you, who can be asking you from time to time about the progress that you are making. Although you have to be careful who you share this with. Make sure that you don't share your struggles to finish a project with somebody who is even going to dampen your spirit the more, somebody who is going to discourage you, or somebody who is going to be putting you under pressure when you know that what you're doing is something quality that really requires you to take your time, right? So you really want to be careful who you share it with. Make sure that it is somebody who will genuinely motivate you, not bring you down, not put you under pressure, or not make you feel guilty that you're telling them about your project every now and then. Or somebody that will start seeing some loopholes in what you're doing. Now, when it comes to telling somebody about what you're doing, your struggles with finishing that project, there is one effect that we need to consider, and this is called the Houghton effect. Yesterday, we look at the Hemingway effect, which discuss or which proposes that the closer you are to finishing something, the greater the pull to finish. But here we're looking at the Houghton effect, which is related to sharing with somebody the project that you're working on, for the purpose of that person nudging you on, encouraging you, motivating you, and pushing you to finish. But then, when do you know how to keep, or how do you know when to keep your project a secret and get all the motivation that you need from within you? Probably you are trying to travel out, to relocate, for example, and you are really struggling, especially if you want to relocate on the grounds of permanent residency and all of that. It can take a while. The process can take some time, unlike when you just want to go through a study route or anything like that for a short time. But if it's a PR, you may have to write an exams, you may have to evaluate your certificates, you may have to get a lot of money and things like that. And this is becoming a struggle for you. In that case, you may think about it. Should I open up to somebody? Hope this person is not going to start torchlighting my plan and asking me, why do I want to relocate? When you're already convinced within yourself that that is the best move to make. Hope this person is not going to make you feel guilty. Hope this person is not going to remind you of 1001 reasons why you should stay back and therefore make you forget about your plans. So there is a part that says keep what you're doing a secret. There's also a part that says open up to somebody. They may be able to help you, motivate you, nudge you on so that you can finish. So the Hawthorne effect actually was a term given to the phenomenon that occurred when workers were assessed based on whether they are making progress, whether they are being productive or not being productive. And this was based on the amount of light in their work. This was carried out in an electric factory located outside of Chicago between 1924 and 1932. And the time and place of the research site was Hawthorne Works, a Western electric factory, like I said, outside of Chicago. So if they wanted to know how productive a worker was, they'll look at the amount of light in what that worker was doing, right? And this would help them to determine if that worker was being productive. But after a while, they saw that observing the amount of light left is not actually effective. So they decided that instead of checking the amount of light, they should have somebody watch those workers to see, right? Then that person will be able to tell if they are doing well or not. Or by the time they see that somebody is watching them, this may actually motivate them to want to finish. And that is the whole essence of this. Like, okay, maybe if you tell somebody the person is watching you, the person may be motivating you, right? That is the Hawthorne effect. Now let's move to something else. Dealing with emails, text messages, or calls. This is also another aspect of finishing what you start, even though sometimes we overlook this, like these are minor things. But all of this idea about finishing what you start also depends a lot on the small things that we have to do on a daily basis. If you are struggling to return somebody's call, or you are struggling to reply that text message, you know, all these little habits or little tasks, you're struggling to do them, then it might be an indication that you're going to struggle with big tasks, right? So all of this is a part of it. You've told somebody, oh, I'm going to call you back, but you never call back. You have emails lying there, you don't reply them. You have a text message, it's just there, no response, nothing. So these are some of the things that you also need to check. Or maybe you attend a conference and you exchange contacts with people, business cards. You know, people are always excited. Oh, you know, let's build connections and all of that. But the moment the conference is over, that is the end. You don't even follow up. You don't call back. You don't build that connection eventually. So these are some of the little things that we need to check, right? So let's look at what could your life be like if you selectively finish everything you started. 205 men and women were surveyed, and some of them had this to say about what their lives would be like if they finish what they started. Somebody said, oh, everything will be great. Another person said, oh, my life will become so less stressful. Somebody said, wonderful. Oh, my life really will be better. Oh, it will be easier and less structured, more organized, less chaotic. It was only 5 people out of these 205 that said, 4 people said boring. 1 person said predictable, right? So I'm asking you, what would your life be like if you finish that which you started? You need to answer this question yourself. Maybe it will mean more money for you, or promotion at work, or you'll be fulfilled, or you're going to sleep better, or you'll be able to go on that vacation, you know, whatever it is going to be. Now, there are some people that struggle to finish what they start, not because of anything else, right? But because they are dealing with some issues that are medically inclined. And one of them is ADHD. And this means attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. There are actually some people that find it very, very hard to sit still. They have problems with attention. Yeah, I used to be a class teacher, and I remember having a child like that in my class one year. He can't sit down to write notes. No, he can't. Like every 5 minutes, he must stand up. They're just restless. And this is more quiet. I've been diagnosed of help, or maybe you are struggling to finish, you are struggling with attention. You may also want to go and check, go to a physician or somebody that is certified to check you and let them diagnose you, right? And once you are diagnosed, you may ask your family and friends to support you. If this is a child, of course, as parents of the child, you must give that child enough support. But as an adult, because some adults also struggle with ADHD, I'm not sure, you may have some of them at your place of work or in your church or your neighborhood or wherever, or maybe as friends, right? Adults with ADHD struggle with finishing and sometimes starting projects because of difficulties in their executive function. ADHD is actually a brain disorder, right? You can't settle down to get at something. People who suffer from ADHD lack concentration, they lack focus. Their attention span is very, 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 very short. Very, very, very short, right? And it has to do with a part of their brain that, in simple terms, help them to figure out how to move from point A to point B, something like that. They have a lot of anxiety that will get them moving, pacing around every now and again. So that may actually be a medical condition, right? If you have anybody like that, or maybe you're that person, you may really, really need a lot of support, a lot of help to finishing what you start. There's also something called ADT. ADT, right? And this was actually reviewed by a man called Edward M. Hollowell. And ADT means attention deficit trait, and it is caused by brain overload. This is now an epidemic in organizations. It is also an epidemic in our world today. Attention deficit trait. If you're a content creator, for example, if you're sharing educational posts that is just 2 minutes long, some people find it hard to watch. They want sound bites. They want quick cuts, Let it not be more than 30 seconds. Otherwise, you lose them. Or maybe you're a preacher. You had better know how to summarize your preaching so that it is not too long. Because we lose a lot of people. I think it is also a problem, an epidemic in our world today. A lot of people cannot sit down to watch or listen to anything that is not fun, entertaining, interesting. It has become a problem. Everybody wants to do 5 minutes, quick, sharp, let it be quick. We struggled a lot with attention. This is also a problem. So how do you manage it? Promote positive emotions, especially if you are the boss. If you notice that people have that around you, promote positive emotion. Watch out for people close to you. How can you bring in things that are fun, or fun things or entertaining things into whatever you do? Maybe you bring jokes, maybe you bring hands-on activities so that they are not too bored, right? Then take physical care of your brain. If you have attention deficit traits, take physical care of your brain. Make sure you get enough sleep, exercise, have a good diet, and all of that. And you can break your tasks into smaller tasks that are manageable for you. Right. The next thing you can do is to work with a project manager. Project managers are another consideration. If you are working on one or multiple projects, ask for help. A project manager is actually trained to help manage your projects, the budgeting, things like that. Right. You pay this person, but make sure this person can work in sync with you. Make sure the personality, you are cool with this person's personality and their way of reasoning, so that there will not be friction as you go on with the project. All right. Then let's look at when you are not the problem. There are actually times when you are not the problem. The problem is coming from the people working with you, the people surrounding you. Maybe they are just distracted. You are a motivated person, but the people that are working with you on this project, they lack motivation, right? You have to push them, you have to drag them, and all of that. So that may also be a problem. What do? Maybe you find a way to be motivating them as well, or you offer them rewards and incentives, whatever you think that you can do. Now let's quickly look at top 7 tips to finishing everything you start. Number 1, be ruthless about focusing in on what you deem your number 1 priority is. Be very ruthless with yourself. Tell yourself no, you're not going to stand up until you are done. Number 2, if you are completely distracted by all the competing demands for your time and all of that. If you are completely distracted by all the competing demands on your time, take the number 1 thing you must do, and if necessary, go to another location. Change your location. Number 3, remind yourself that whatever it is that you're putting off finishing is worth completing, because there are consequences to things that are left in an unfinished status. You may never really experience that true joy and happiness if you don't finish. Then number 4, repeat the affirmation, I am finishing what I started. Number 5, strive for achievable excellence rather than unattainable perfection that can stop you from finishing. Number 6, although starting is important, since that's the first step in finishing anything, most people find finishing more challenging. So you are not alone if finishing is hard for you. Number 7, go back to the FINISH acronym so that it can spoil you. F says focus on one priority task. I says ignore interruptions or disruptions. N says now is the time, not later or tomorrow. I says initiate and innovate, so you keep going. S says stay the course however tough it gets. And H says hail finishing by celebrating your achievements. Then lastly, know thyself. You know yourself. You know how best you work. Whether you're a morning person, maximize your morning hours before the distractions start coming in. Not the morning hour. Don't use the morning hour to go on social media or to start checking emails. Quickly use it to finish your number 1 priority. Maybe not finish, at least to get busy with it, right? If you're an evening person, maximize your evening time. That's not the time to go and sit down in front of Netflix and be watching movies, right? So you know yourself, you know what works best for you. You know when you're tired and your head is blocked and you really need to drop everything to take a break of 5 minutes and you get refreshed again and come back to it. You know yourself, you know those things that easily distract you. So do away with them. You know that once your phone beeps, you just cannot but check it out. Your mind is going to be there. Who sent a message? Or what was that sound for? So keep your phone on silent. On silence, if that is what is going to work for you, right? So prioritize those things that are going to work for you. Don't deceive yourself. What works for me may not work for you. And what works for this author may not work for me. So you know yourself. Nobody knows you better than you know yourself. So do what works for you. All that matters is that you know yourself, right? So work with your own self. All right. So the author hopes that How to Finish Everything You Start has empowered you to make better choices about what to finish. And if you do let something go by the wayside, not to feel guilty about it, if eventually you don't have to finish what you started, then it means that you've realized that you should not continue. It is not important, right? Or maybe when you started, it was important. Right now, you shouldn't be doing it. You're on the wrong track and things like that. Okay, so we've come to the end of this wonderful book. It has been an exciting review so far, How to Finish Everything You Start. If you have this book, at the back there are some resources, apps, and all of that you can actually consult to make your life better as you try to finish what you started. Thank you so much for joining me on today's review. Yes, determination. Exactly. Thank you for joining me on today's review. Please don't forget to like this video, share your comments with me in the comment section below, and please subscribe to this channel in case you are yet to subscribe. I remain Olaide Agbaje, also known as First Lady. And on this channel, I inspire you to live intentionally, right? I'll come your way again with another exciting book. that we're going to be reviewing, but I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag now. I'm sure you want to find out. I'll see you later. Until then, be intentional. Bye. You are most welcome. You are welcome. It's nice having you here.